Welcome to Rawson Connection, a podcast about all things Lehigh engineering, coming to you from the P.C. Rawson College of Engineering and Applied Science at Lehigh University. It's a show for students, alumni, faculty and staff, current, former, and future, and for anyone interested in the many creative ways that engineers are solving the world's problems. Today's episode features Javed Khazaei. He's an assistant professor in the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering. He came to the U.S. from Iran to pursue a PhD, and today he researches power system dynamics and control. It's work that will ultimately contribute to the global effort to achieve net zero emissions by 2050. Thanks for joining us. Javed Khazaei grew up in Iran, specifically in the warm and humid north, where the forest meets the ocean.
So we have the Caspian Sea. It was about 15 minutes away from us, and I was fascinated by going to the beach, listening to the sound of waves.
His dad taught him how to swim and how to fish, and when Javed was around 8 or 10 years old, his dad, who was a civil engineer, took him on a tour of a power plant. It was one of the largest in northern Iran.
I was able to go up and see the flames coming up about 30 feet. So that was something that I have never seen in my life. So it was fascinating. And then the engineers in the power plant explained the process of generating electricity from boiling water. So I think that process for me was very interesting.
Plus, it was enormous, which is a big deal when you're a little kid.
A generator in a power plant is almost the size of a building. This was fascinating.
And in that moment, he pretty much knew what he wanted to do.
I wanted to be an electrical engineer.
He went on to get his bachelor's and master's degrees in Iran. It was during his master's program that he started thinking about coming to the U.S. to continue his education. He had a roommate who had a lot of friends studying abroad.
He was in touch with them. He would talk to them. And since he was my roommate, I got to learn more about the U.S. as well because no one in my family had ever traveled outside of Iran. Basically, I had my friend as some sort of guide how I can get to the U.S. And when I learned about the educational system, about the freedom basically in the U.S., because we didn't have much back in Iran, I decided to prepare my documents to get into the U.S., and that's how I started the process.
When he started applying to grad schools here, he knew exactly where he wanted to go, or at least which state.
I specifically chose Florida because of the weather.
He ended up at the University of South Florida in Tampa. The heat and the sun were obviously a big draw, but so were the professors. That's because Javed planned to research power system dynamics. And just a quick explainer on that, the electrical power system is huge. The components of the power system, generators, transformers, lines, etc., all have their own characteristics and parameters. They're dynamic. The better the dynamics of these components are understood and controlled, the more reliable our energy supply. Javed had already referenced 2 of the University of South Florida's professors in papers he wrote as a master's student.
It was really a dream for me to work with them because they were very famous and renowned. They had a large group of students.
It was a dream. But the reality of leaving everything and everyone he knew behind, that was tough.
The first night that I arrived in the U.S., I regretted my decision, to be honest, because I am the only one who is not in Iran from my family. I mean, my parents were a little bit old, and then I wanted to take care of them, but I left for my PhD studies. And the first night that I arrived in Tampa, I spent the night in a hotel, which was, I was alone, and it was not very comforting.
His English wasn't great at first.
It was very difficult for me to make conversation with people, but I had a Sri Lankan classmate who was my close friend, and he still is. He improved my English a lot because I would talk to him every day, and he was involved in many of the projects that I was working on. And it really helped me speak better.
Reading was also a challenge.
At the beginning, it was really difficult for me because I would have a dictionary beside me Any word that I didn't know, I had to look it up, and it would take longer for me to understand the material. But I think this is the challenge that every international student has to overcome. And I would say this is what makes some of us stronger, because you would need to spend more time. It makes us more dedicated and more passionate about things that we learn and things that we do.
Despite the language barrier, things got better pretty quickly.
After a couple of months and after basically starting my research, I started being more comfortable and more comfortable. Now I consider here my home. And to be honest, it's very difficult for me to not be here now.
Javed started his PhD thinking he'd go into industry. Back in Iran, he'd done a few internships, and he loved working with large-scale power plants, transformers, transmission lines.
After 1 year of my PhD, my advisor told me that you're really good with doing research, and I was able to publish a lot of papers. So at that time, I had probably 20 journal articles published, and she recommended me to think about getting into academia.
He did start thinking about it, especially after working as a teaching assistant for an electromechanical energy systems class. After 1 semester as a TA, he became the course instructor.
Of course, I had a lot of help from my advisor. At first, I was basically scared because I had a class of 60 students. So at the beginning, it was a little bit challenging for me to adapt to the situation. But I really was fascinated by the teaching. I really became interested in teaching concepts to students. And that was basically the start of this academic journey for me.
It was really satisfying to help students understand these complex concepts. It also made him a better researcher.
When I started teaching, I could do better research because I had a better understanding of those fundamentals, and then I could apply those to my own field.
After graduating, he went to Penn State Harrisburg, where he was an assistant professor of electrical engineering. And in 2020, he was invited to Lehigh to give a seminar to the electrical engineering department. He was shocked by the turnout.
The participation of faculty is normally limited to those who are active in the area of research of the presenter. But in the EC department of Lehigh, almost 85% of faculty attended my seminar, although it wasn't about their own research area.
To him, that level of curiosity and interdisciplinary interest sealed it. As soon as there was an opening in the electrical engineering department, he applied for it. He got the job and started in the fall of 2021. Javed studies power system dynamics and control.
So power system is basically a large-scale cyber-physical system that has generation units like power plants that are working to generate power for electricity-consuming devices like buildings.
The power system also includes transmission and distribution systems, which deliver power from the plants to the customer.
And this system is dynamic because of the elements involved in it. For example, generators in power plants or renewable energy sources. And so those are all dynamical devices. So to be able to send power from these power plants to the consuming devices, we need to be able to have the mathematical model of these devices and also control them.
He uses modeling tools to better understand the physical laws governing these systems and to design better controllers, which are devices that can enhance the performance of the system. Ultimately, he says, his work is aimed at making the power system more robust. In other words, making sure the lights go on and stay on, no matter what.
Let's say I want to control this solar power plant to generate X amount of power. So that means I need to design a controller that can guarantee at any moment I can deliver that amount of power. If I have a physical model or if I have a mathematical model of the solar generation system, then I can design a controller that no matter what the situation is in the power system can guarantee that I can always deliver that amount of power.
It's complex work, but it's fulfilling too because who doesn't want a more reliable energy system?
A lot of our day-to-day activities depend on energy, and a lot of infrastructure currently in place, such as building, water, transportation, they all depend on energy. That means if the energy system is not resilient, the operation of those sectors and those infrastructure would be impacted.
It's also an area of research that's attracting a lot of students interested in renewable energy. And in Javed's lab, they get opportunities far beyond the traditional approach to electrical engineering.
What is interesting in my work and my research is that the students get to work on hands-on activities like designing solar energy system, designing wind turbines, controlling these devices. The hands-on version and hands-on portion of my research makes it interesting for the students. And I have a lot of undergraduate students showing interest in coming to my lab and seeing the microgrid facility that we have in place and want to be involved with these. So a lot of students see opportunities for internships and job opportunities for renewable energy resources and storage devices. And since my lab has the capability and capacity to train these students and they can work on hardware-based research for these companies, then that's interesting for the students and they get to be involved.
He says it's a good time to be in the field, especially as global economies work toward the goal of net zero emissions by 2050. Companies can't wait to scoop up the next generation of skilled electrical engineers.
A lot of undergraduates and graduate students right now, they have job offers even before graduation, a couple of months before graduation. So this means the market in renewable energy and power and energy field is actually booming, and that's good news for us.
That's it for today's show. I'd like to thank Javed for taking the time to share his research. For more information about all the academic programs at the PC Rawson College of Engineering and Applied Science, and to find our show, head to engineering.lehigh.edu. Music in this episode is by Blue Dot Sessions. You can send us story suggestions or feedback on X at Rawson Podcast. I'm your host and producer, Christine Fennessy. Thanks for listening.